Welcome to this Tutor to You Sociology topic video on left realist theories of crime and deviance, focusing on the work of Lea Young. Left realism was an approach developed in the early 1980s as a response to the rising rates of crime and the importance of sociology developing realistic solutions to issues surrounding crime. Lea and Young, in particular, were influenced by a wide range of explanations behind the rise in crime, from Marxist theories of structural inequality to interactionist theories that focused on the role of the state, media and police in labelling individuals. Their aim was to provide a realistic alternative to the development of right realist policies, which had come to dominate the criminal justice policies of new right governments such as the Conservative Party in the UK and the Republicans in the USA. In this video, we're going to look specifically at what Lea and Young believed were the causes of crime. One of the biggest issues for criminology was that of multiple etiology. Jock Young, a prominent criminologist who had been involved in the development of the new criminology in the 1970s and with interactionist approaches in the 1960s, argued that crime was not the result of one single factor, but rather a combination of factors working together. He saw the causes of crime as being a mixture of structural inequality, informal and formal mechanisms of social control, and an individual's agency, their ability to show free will in their actions. Alongside Roger Lee, Young argued that there were three factors that had the greatest influence on the rising level of crime. Firstly, relative deprivation. Secondly, the growth of subcultural responses to society's unequal structure. And finally, marginalization, a sense of powerlessness and lack of representation some groups felt in society. And we'll look at each of these in more detail. Relative deprivation is a form of deprivation where people feel as if they do not have the same level of economic resources as others in society. It's not limited to the most deprived in society, as it's a comparison between two groups. However, Lea and Young found that rates of criminality were highest in those in the lower social and economic strata of society. In a similar way to Merton and traditional Marxist ideas of criminogenic capitalism, Lea and Young suggested that the pressures to be economically successful was one of the driving factors behind criminal behaviour. Comparing oneself to others in similar situations could lead to feelings of deprivation, and the need for parity with others could lead to criminal behaviour. Importantly, Lea and Young suggested that relative deprivation could be felt in the middle classes as well, suggesting that forms of white-collar crime were a result of the pressures of needing to show economic success through consumerism. However, it's amongst the lower classes that Lea and Young focused most of their work. As we've seen in other topic areas such as family and education, working class attitudes of collectivism feed into the collectivist nature of subcultures. In a similar fashion to Cohen and Claude Nolan, Lea and Young suggested that subcultures were a response to the pressures of society and economic success, and that the membership of subcultures provided some form of relief from relative deprivation. Subcultures awarded people status within the group, or in some instances provided a way of material gain, usually through petty or disorganised crime. Lea and Young's approach to subcultures has synoptic links to other approaches across the specification, particularly when looking at anti-school and youth subcultures, and how they develop as a coping mechanism for dealing with the lack of opportunities afforded to young people in society. The final factor suggested by Lea and Young was marginalization. Now, this is where groups of individuals will have minimal representation in society, often being isolated and in some instances rejected by mainstream society. This, according to Lea and Young, leads to frustration, which, coupled with the blocked opportunities in society, can lead to expressions of violence and antisocial behaviour against mainstream society. It's often the more powerful institutions, the government, media and education, that create this marginalisation, and it leads to members of the marginalised groups feeling left out or left behind, thus leading to criminal behaviours as a form of protest. In evaluating Lea and Young's work, it must be noted the wide range of influences on their approach to crime and deviance, drawing from theorists as diverse as Merton to Gilroy. In adopting a holistic approach to looking at crime, rather than the more reductionist right realist approach, Lea and Young's work can be seen to build on the work of others before them. Their work was also influential in forming criminal justice policies throughout the late 1990s under New Labour, suggesting that tackling the causes of crime was better than punishing those that did commit crime. However, critics of Lea Young suggest that their work is theoretical rather than being based on research, and point to the decline of recorded crime in the era of global capitalism, where relative deprivation is at its highest. However, a counter-criticism of that would be that there is a dark figure of unreported crimes, whilst recording crime can be manipulated to meet ideological and political aims. That concludes this Tutor to You Sociology topic video looking at left realist policies of crime and deviance, focusing on the work of Lea Young. Thanks for watching.